Today we're looking at the topic of narco-terrorism, and our hearing comes as a narco-terrorism related case has really exploded into the public eye yesterday afternoon. The Justice Department detailed an Iranian-directed plot to assassinate a foreign ambassador on U.S. soil. And from what we know, a key conspirator in the plot approached a Drug Enforcement Administration informant seeking to hire a drug cartel hit squad to carry out the attack here in Washington, D.C. The plot was planned over multiple meetings in Mexico between the man now in U.S. custody and people that he at the time believed to be cartel members. Iran's Quds Force conceived of a plot. The plot was to recruit Mexican narco-traffickers in this assassination effort on U.S. soil. The fact that they would do that, I don't think, should be a great surprise. Clearly, this deadly force felt comfortable navigating the expansive criminal networks south of our border. For years, some derided border security advocates saying that just because we had one or two Hezbollah operatives come across that border, it was alarmism to say that this could ever escalate into the type of situation that we face today. But this plot proves just how important a secure border is to our national security. The Karani case predates this. In that particular instance, it was the brother of the head of Hezbollah's security operation, the very individual, the very general who was shelling Haifa. It was his brother who came across the border in the trunk of a car and made his way up to Michigan to be reunited there with a cadre of Confederates that were a cell that embedded itself there. And that, fortunately, was discovered at that time. I saw a little bit of his brother's handiwork because we were in Israel, in Haifa, during the Hezbollah war. And his brother was in charge of the missile attacks which were coming in to downtown Haifa, where they had even launched an attack on the trauma hospital. Well, this was the individual's brother who was apprehended here on U.S. soil. Yesterday, incidentally, the trial of international arms deal Victor Boot began in New York City. And Boot was brought down by DEA agents in May of '08 for conspiracy to supply weapons to the FARC, a designated terrorist group. Another example of this type of nexus that occurs. And this shadow facilitator was notorious for supplying arms to dictators and terrorists. After I and others pushed hard for Boot's extradition from Thailand, the Merchant of Death is finally getting his day in court. Michael Braun, who quarterbacked this operation for the DEA, will testify a little bit about this operation. And these cases illustrate really two things. The first is the nexus between drugs and terrorism, and the second is the long arm of U.S. law enforcement. Unquestionably, the links between drugs and terrorism are growing at an alarming pace. Last year, the DEA tallied 18 of 44 State Department designated foreign terrorist organizations as having links to the drug trade. And this includes the FARC, Hezbollah, Hamas, and Al-Qaeda. Earlier this year, the Treasury Department designated Lebanese Canadian Bank as a primary money laundering concern, finding that as much as $200 million per month in drug money was laundered through that bank into the coffers of Hezbollah to fund their operations. Meanwhile, ties between Hezbollah and Mexican drug cartels have obviously strengthened, and this makes sense. Drug cartels get Hezbollah's smuggling and explosive expertise, and Hezbollah gets a presence on the lawless Mexican border. As Doug Farrell will testify, the ties between transnational criminal networks and terrorist organizations are morphing into something new. Looking forward, attacking those links will be critical to countering terrorist plots. As the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York recently said, the long arm of the law has to get even longer. With a unique set of authorities, human sources, and expertise, the DEA has been bringing a cutting-edge approach to attack this nexus abroad. But as we will hear today, despite its robust international posture, in some continents like Africa, the DEA's presence is spread very, very thin. And that's just one of the many challenges it faces.